The rescue beneath the burning skies. The sky was on fire. Thick black smoke rose over the red jungle trees. The air smelled like burning metal and fear. Explosions cracked in the distance, louder than thunder. But 15-year-old Leo kept running. His boots slammed against the soft alien ground, his chest tight, lungs burning. He should have stayed at the base. His parents were researchers, scientists studying the alien moon called Kythera. They had warned him to stay near the lab dome when the alarm started. But Leo heard something strange. Not a siren, not an explosion, a scream, high-pitched, soft, not human. Something or someone was crying for help. Leo followed the sound through the trees. Bright blue leaves brushed his shoulders. Hot ash fell from above like evil snow. Still, he ran. His legs were shaking, but he didn't stop. Then he saw it. Half buried in the ground was a silver pod, the size of a small car. Steam hissed from cracks in its surface. The side hatch had been blown open. Something inside was moving. Leo stepped closer. "Hello?" he called. "Is someone in there?" No answer. He reached the hatch and peeked inside, and then his breath caught. There, curled up in the back of the pod, was a girl. She was young, maybe his age. Her skin glowed pale gold like starlight. Her eyes were large and violet like twin moons. Her long white hair clung to her face, dirty and wet. She looked weak. Her clothes were torn and soaked in blood. She wasn't human. Leo's hands trembled. He had seen aliens before, but none like her. She looked fragile, afraid, and beautiful. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out, only a soft, choked sound. Her eyes locked on his, wide, desperate. "Don't worry," Leo whispered, crawling into the pod. "I'll help you." The moment he touched her, the jungle exploded with noise. Gunfire. Shouts. Boots stomping through the trees. Leo looked back. Alien soldiers, tall, masked, and carrying glowing rifles, were spreading out around the crash site. They hadn't seen him yet. He had seconds. "Come on," he said, lifting the girl into his arms. She was light. Too light. Her skin was hot, burning with fever. She moaned something in her language, but Leo couldn't understand. He ducked low and crawled out of the pod, keeping to the shadows. His heart pounded in his ears. One wrong move, and they'd both die. The soldiers were searching. One came close, so close Leo could smell the oil on its armor. But it turned away. Leo waited, then ran. He sprinted through the jungle, holding the girl tight. Vines tore at his arms. Thorns ripped his clothes. The burning air stung his eyes. Still he ran. Behind him, a soldier shouted. They were chasing him now. He couldn't outrun them, forever. Then he remembered the old cave, the one he and his father found on a hike last month, a narrow crack in the cliffs hidden behind a curtain of vines. If he could just reach it, gunfire whizzed past his head. He ducked low, weaving between trees. The girl gasped and clung to his shirt. Her violet eyes were full of fear, but also something else. Trust. Leo didn't stop. He burst through the vines and dove into the cave entrance. Darkness swallowed them. The ground was cool and damp, safe. He crawled deep inside, listening. The shouts grew distant. Footsteps faded. The soldiers had lost them, for now. Leo laid the girl down gently. She looked up at him, blinking slowly. Her lips moved. He leaned closer. She whispered in broken English. "Why? Help me?" He hesitated, then smiled. "Because you needed it." Tears filled her eyes. She reached out and touched his face. Her fingers were warm, trembling. "Name," she said softly. "Leo," he replied. "What's yours?" "Ori," she whispered. Ori. The name felt like a secret. She smiled, just a little. Then her eyes closed. Her breathing slowed. She was alive, but only just. Leo sat beside her in the dark, guarding her as the fires raged outside. That night, something changed in him. He didn't know who Ari was. He didn't know why soldiers were hunting her. But he knew this. She wasn't just any alien girl, she mattered. And before she slept, just before her voice faded, Ari said one last thing. "Come back. When you are strong." Leo didn't understand what she meant, but those words would stay in his mind for years because sometimes one choice, one promise can echo across the stars. The boy who vanished from Earth Leo was never seen again on Kythera after that night. One moment he was a teenage boy hiding in a cave, protecting an alien girl from soldiers. The next, he was gone. The search parties found no sign of him, not even footprints. His parents cried for weeks. The local police believed he had been taken. The alien soldiers denied any involvement. But the truth was stranger than any of them could imagine. Leo had left by choice. Ari had been saved that night, and after several long hours in hiding, a small cloaked shuttle had appeared, gliding silently through the smoke. It wasn't from Earth. Leo had hidden again, thinking it might be more soldiers, but instead he watched as a robed figure stepped out and gently lifted Ari from the cave, whispering in her language. She was someone important. That much was clear. But before the shuttle doors closed, Ari opened her eyes for one last time. She saw Leo watching. She didn't speak. She didn't cry. She simply raised her hand and traced a symbol in the air. A small spiral followed by a vertical line. Leo memorized it. Then she was gone. And Leo made a choice. He would not return to the base. He would not go back to Earth, to school, to a life where his biggest worry was homework or being late for dinner. He had seen something real. He had saved someone who didn't belong to his world, and in doing so, he no longer felt like he belonged there either. The next morning, he snuck aboard a cargo hauler leaving Kythera's upper docks. He hid behind crates of fuel rods, living off protein packs and water tubes for 5 days before a worker discovered him. The hauler captain, angry at first, later changed his mind when he heard Leo's story. The old man had served in the Galactic Human Navy years ago and had seen war, death, and strange wonders. He saw something burning in Leo's eyes that reminded him of soldiers who never backed down. "You want to go find her?" the captain asked one night over a meal. Leo nodded. "Then you'll need to stop being a boy." From that day on, Leo began training. The hauler dropped him off at a fringe station where human mercenaries and exiles gathered, far from Earth's influence. He lied about his age and his past. He took jobs cleaning engine rooms, patching hulls, carrying gear, just to earn credits, and get closer to the fighters, smugglers, and scouts who lived by no one's rules. He watched. He learned. And slowly, year by year, he changed. Leo grew taller, stronger. His mind sharpened with each mission. He learned alien languages. He learned to fight not just with fists, but with his mind. He studied battle strategy, how to negotiate, how to survive in the cold black vacuum of space. But deep down, it was always about Ari. He didn't know what world she came from. He didn't know if she was safe, or if she even remembered him. But her words that night, "Come back when you are strong," were a fire that never went out. And then one day when Leo was 20, something strange happened. He had just finished a routine cargo drop on a rusted old station built into an asteroid belt. It was a place most humans avoided, filled with aliens who didn't trust outsiders. But Leo had learned how to blend in. As he walked down a narrow corridor past a cracked wall of faded symbols, he stopped. There, drawn carefully in white dust, was a shape, a spiral, and beneath it, a vertical line. The same symbol Ori had drawn in the air with her finger 5 years ago. His blood ran cold, then hot. Someone had left this for him, not just anyone. Her. He checked the security cameras. Nothing. No footage. The image had only appeared that day. No one knew what it meant. But Leo knew. It was a message. She was alive. She remembered. And she was calling him. He didn't waste a second. He bought a small ship with every last credit he had and charted a course toward the region known as the Shrouded Crescent, an area filled with strange radiation, old ruins, and forbidden territories. Rumors said a fallen empire once ruled there. Others whispered about a princess lost to war. Leo didn't care about rumors. He followed the stars and the symbol. He was no longer the boy who hid in the cave. He was something more now, harder, faster, stronger, and he was ready to return. Return to the Forbidden Moon. The stars around Kythera were no longer calm. Once a peaceful moon known for its blue forests and glowing lakes, it was now surrounded by patrol ships and drifting wreckage. Warning beacons blinked across the void, like angry red eyes. Most travelers avoided the region altogether. But Leo wasn't most travelers. He had returned. His ship, a small black cruiser barely holding together, crept through the shadows between asteroids. He didn't use any lights, no beacons, no signals. He moved like a ghost, hugging the edge of sensor range. He wasn't trying to announce his return. He was trying to slip past those who didn't want him here. Because Kythera was no longer just a war zone. It had become a symbol. There were rumors that an ancient royal bloodline had resurfaced, that someone long thought dead had returned, and with her, a growing rebellion against the merciless ruling syndicate known as the Zareth Dominion. And deep in the center of it all, on a moon many had forgotten, was the heart of that resistance. Leo didn't need a map to know where to go. His memories guided him. The red trees still stood, but they looked darker now. The fires had scorched many down to ash. The air smelled like old smoke and metal. But the path to the hidden cliffs was still there, though harder to find beneath collapsed stone and vines. He landed his ship in a crater, cloaked it, and continued on foot. Each step stirred old feelings. Fear, hope, doubt. He had changed. He had grown. But what if Ori hadn't meant for him to return like this? What if her message wasn't meant as a call, but a warning? He pushed the thoughts away. This was his path. He had followed it through stars, blood, and years of silence. When he reached the cliffs, he stopped. They were not abandoned. Hidden into the side of the mountain was a massive fortress, one that hadn't been there before. Black walls curved like obsidian claws. Strange alien statues lined the entrance, all facing outward like silent guardians. This place wasn't part of the rebellion. It belonged to the enemy. Leo crouched behind a rock, observing. Armed guards in dark armor moved along the upper walls. He noticed a strange sigil on their uniforms, a twisted version of the old Kythera royal crest. They were mocking her. He had to get inside. There were no open gates. No obvious entrances. Only sheer stone, soldiers, and death. But Leo had trained for this. Over the past 5 years, he had broken into pirate outposts, syndicate stations, and forgotten ruins protected by ancient AI guardians. This was just another locked door, and like all the others, it had a weak point. He waited until nightfall when a transport skiff docked near the lower wall. That was his chance. While the guards were distracted by unloading crates, Leo crept along the shadows, scaled a maintenance rail, and slipped into a ventilation shaft. The fortress was colder inside than he expected. Echoes bounced through the metal halls like whispers from the past. Lights flickered. Some doors were welded shut. Others opened to empty rooms filled with crates and broken machines. Then he heard it. A voice, soft, familiar. He followed the yar, sound, heart-pounding. Down a long hall, past rows of old banners and silent guards, he found it. A wide chamber lined with glowing pillars and alien carvings. In the center stood a figure draped in silver and white. Her back was turned, but even before she spoke, Leo knew. "Ori," he whispered. She froze. Then slowly she turned, and for a moment, the entire universe went still. Her face had matured. The round softness of her youth was gone, replaced by the calm strength of someone who had seen war. Her violet eyes, once full of wonder, now held sorrow and fire. But when they landed on him, when she truly saw him, something broke inside. Them both. "You came back," she said quietly. Leo stepped forward. "You left a message. I didn't think you'd find it. I never stopped looking." She smiled, just barely. Then the doors slammed open behind him. Soldiers poured in. Leo spun, ready to fight. "Wait!" Ori shouted. "He's not." A threat. But they didn't listen. The guards rushed forward. Leo fought back, his moves fast and sharp, but they outnumbered him. A stun blade struck his side and everything went black. He collapsed to the floor, barely hearing Ori scream his name. When he woke, he was in a cell. His wrists were bound in glowing cuffs. A low hum vibrated through the walls. He wasn't dead, but he wasn't free either. The door hissed open. Ori stepped in, alone. She knelt beside him, her hand brushing his arm. "Why did you return, Leo?" "Because I made a promise." Her eyes shimmered. "Everything's changed," she said softly. "I'm not just a girl in danger anymore. I'm the last heir to a broken empire. They're using me, Leo, holding me here. Because if I leave, my people will rise. Then let them rise. I can't. Not without breaking the treaty that protects my world." Leo leaned closer, his voice low. "Then break it." Ori looked at him for a long time. Then, barely above a whisper, she said, "You're not the boy I left behind." "No," he answered. "I'm the man who came back for you." Her chains, his blood. The cell was silent, but Leo's mind raced like a storm. He sat alone, cold, metal beneath him, dim lights humming above. His wounds ached, and the stun from the energy cuffs still crawled under his skin like fire ants. But pain wasn't what kept him awake. It was the look in Ori's eyes before she left. She was scared, not of him, but of what he represented. His return had broken something she had tried so hard to keep sealed. He had seen it in her face. The walls she had built around herself were cracking, and now he needed to know why. The door opened hours later. This time, guards entered, not to beat him, but to drag him into the light. They pulled him through a long corridor, past strange doors, alien tech, and golden symbols that glowed faintly on the walls. At the end stood a tall room with a circular platform. Elders in silver robes stood in silence, surrounding it like judges in an ancient courtroom. And there, at the center, stood Ori. She wore ceremonial robes, her long white hair braided with small glowing stones. Her face was calm, but her hands were shaking slightly at her sides. Leo was thrown to his knees before them. A voice echoed across the chamber. This human entered the royal fortress without permission. He attacked guards. He violated sacred territory. Do you deny this, outsider? Leo raised his head, blood on his lip. I didn't come to fight. I came for her. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The elders murmured among themselves. Ori stepped forward. He speaks the truth. Her words silenced the room. One of the elders, a tall woman with metal rings on her face, scowled. You would defend him, princess? I would, Ori said. Because he is not just a human. He is the one who saved me 5 years ago. He is the one I called upon. You were a child. I remembered, she said, stronger now. I left him a sign. He followed it. Another elder raised a hand. Even if true, the law is clear. He entered this world uninvited. He bled on sacred ground and... He paused, staring at Leo's arm. He carries the bond. Everyone turned. Leo looked down. Where Ori had touched his arm in the cave 5 years ago, where she had brushed the dirt off his skin and traced that strange symbol, his skin now glowed faintly. A mark was there, not tattooed, not burned. Etched in light, a symbol of the ancient Kythera bond. It had awakened. Ari's face went pale. No, she whispered. It's not possible. It is done, the elder said. The bond is active.
It is ancient. It is sacred. It cannot be.
Reversed. Leo didn't fully understand what they were saying, but he saw the fear growing in Ari's eyes. Not fear of him, but of what this meant. What bond? He asked. Ari looked at him, pain in her voice. It's something only our people once used in war, in love, in blood, a soul mark. It joins two lives. If one is harmed, so is the other. If one dies, the other follows. Leo blinked. You mean we're connected now? She nodded. The room filled with shouts, arguments, commands. The elders called for punishment. Some demanded Leo be erased for upsetting the old laws. Others argued the bond was sacred and must be honored. Ari did not speak. She stood frozen, trapped between duty and something she dared not name. That night Leo was returned to his cell, but he was not alone for long. The door opened gently. Ari slipped in. She sat across from him on the cold floor, robes trailing behind her. They said nothing for a while. Then Leo broke the silence. You didn't mark me on purpose, did you? No, she said softly. I didn't even know I had. He nodded. But you still want me gone? No, she whispered. That's the problem. She looked up at him, her violet eyes wet with fear. When I was taken back 5 years ago, they told me to forget you, that I was weak to even care, that Earth's people were reckless and selfish, but I never forgot. I watched the stars every night, wondering if you'd ever come back. Leo's voice was quiet. And now that I have, I'm terrified, she admitted. Because if they find out what we truly mean to each other, if they realize I care, they'll kill you, or use you against me. Then let them try, Leo said, his voice steady. I didn't come across half the galaxy just to leave because they're scared. She smiled through the tears. You're not the boy I remember. No, he said. I'm someone worse. I'm the one who's going to break all their rules for you. She reached out, hesitating. Then she touched his hand. The mark on his arm glowed brighter. They both felt it. That hum, deep inside their bones. Something ancient was stirring. The bond was more than emotion. It was power. But outside their cell, the elders were already preparing the next move. The bond had changed everything. And if Leo wanted to stay in Ari's world, he would have to earn his right to stand beside her. And that meant surviving the trials of the bonded. The bond that shook the court of Cathera, had not held a trial of the bonded in nearly 1,000 years. It was a ritual believed lost, buried beneath layers of forgotten laws and fractured bloodlines. The elders never expected it would return, but now it stood before them, revived not by choice, but by fate. A human had been marked, and the one who marked him, however unintentionally, was their last royal heir. Inside the grand hall, the atmosphere was tense. The air buzzed with energy from the ancient glyphs lining the walls, glowing softly in reaction to the awakened bond between Leo and Ari. Alien nobles, high-ranking scholars, and war strategists sat in tiered rings around a stone circle at the center, whispering behind jeweled hands and polished masks. Leo stood in the center, bare-armed, the soul mark on his skin pulsing like a living flame. He wore no armor, no weapon, only the truth of what he carried. They hadn't allowed Ari to stand beside him. She watched from the far end of the chamber, trapped behind the ceremonial veil reserved for royalty. She couldn't speak, couldn't protest. Her eyes were fixed on him, unblinking. Not because she doubted him, but because she feared the world he was about to walk into. The High Elder finally spoke. Leo of Earth, he said, voice echoing unnaturally through the hall. You are an outsider, a species from the outer fringe. You have no noble blood, no ties to our history, yet you carry the mark of our last living princess. Leo said nothing. Do you understand the danger this bond brings to our people? I understand that I didn't ask for it, Leo replied calmly, but I won't run from it. A quiet murmur rolled through the audience. The elder continued. Then by our oldest law you may attempt the trials of the bonded. If you pass, you will be accepted as her shield, her equal, her chosen protector. If you fail, your life will end and your name will be erased from all records. Leo nodded once. The first trial began immediately. The trial of mind. He was led into a chamber, filled with ancient puzzles, moving walls, vanishing paths, glowing stones that changed with each step. The room was designed not just to test logic, but to overwhelm the senses. Illusions flickered across the walls. Burning cities, screaming faces, memories of Earth. One illusion showed his mother, crying on Earth's spaceport, asking why he never came back. Leo nearly lost focus, but he remembered Ari's voice, her fear, her strength. He stepped past the tricks. He ignored the illusions. He found the hidden path, one that only revealed itself when you walked it backwards, because sometimes the answer was not about moving forward, but seeing what you'd already missed. When the wall shifted and the exit opened, the elders stared in disbelief. The boy from Earth had passed the mind trial with perfect clarity. The trial of heart came next. Leo was brought before a gathering of refugees, real people, not illusions. Families who had lost everything in the Zareth Dominion's attacks. He was given a single serum that could cure disease. One vial, one choice. He listened to each person's story. A young child with a rare fever. A soldier wounded saving others. An old woman who had lived long but still clung to life. He didn't speak much. He simply watched. And then he handed the vial not to the sickest, but to the young girl's mother. Because she has to live to protect her, Leo said. One dose saves two. That night the story spread across Kythera. The outsider who made the hardest choice, not out of pity, but wisdom. Then came the trial of soul. This one was the most dangerous. Leo was placed into a chamber with no doors, no light. There he was confronted by a deep psychic force, a voice that came from within, pulling his worst fears into shape. It whispered every failure, every doubt, every scream he had never forgotten. You are nothing, you are just a child lost in a galaxy that does not want you. It showed him Ari, broken, bloodied, dying, because of him. He dropped to his knees. He wanted to scream, to run, to quit, but then he whispered, no, not loud, not angry, just certain. No, I may be lost, I may be small, but I came here. I faced your fire, and I will not leave her alone. The force recoiled. A single beam of light fell through. The darkness. The chamber vanished. The elders watched in silence as Leo stepped back into the grand hall, breathing hard but alive. All three trials, complete. But the court was divided. Some nobles rose to applaud. Others shouted that the trials were corrupted, that the bond was cursed, that no outsider should hold power in their sacred court. And then, the unexpected happened. From the back of the room, a rival noble stepped forward. Lord Reseth, cousin to the fallen king, known for his hatred of humans. This is a trick, he hissed. The bond is a lie. He doesn't love her. He just wants her throne. He seeks to control us. Before the guards could stop him, Reseth lunged forward, drawing a blade from his sleeve. He charged straight at Leo. Ori screamed. Leo didn't move fast enough, but he didn't have to. A golden light erupted from Ari's chest. Instinct, magic, bond. It crossed the chamber in a blink, slamming into Reseth and throwing him against the far wall. He collapsed unconscious. Leo turned, breathless. Ori had broken the veil. She ran toward him, robes flying behind her, ignoring the shocked gasps of the court. And as she reached him, she took his hand, right there, before everyone, and said, the bond is real. Silence fell. The court could no longer deny it. Something ancient had awakened, and for the first time in generations, a bonded pair stood in the heart of the Kythera court, not as rulers of tradition but as challengers of fate. The trials of the unworthy, the palace should have felt victorious. But victory has many enemies. News of Leo's survival spread like wildfire across the moons of Kythera. Some called him a symbol of peace, others called him a mistake. And for many, his passing of the sacred trials was not a sign of strength, it was a threat. Because if a human could be accepted as the bonded protector of the last princess, what did that mean for tradition? What did that mean for bloodlines? For control? For power? Not everyone wanted change, and in the shadow of the throne, those people began to move. Ori's chambers were heavily guarded now, not to protect her from outsiders, but to keep her under the court's control. Her every word was monitored, every movement judged. Even her meals were tasted before they reached her hands, but it wasn't poison she feared. It was silence. After declaring the bond, she had been stripped of royal command. The elders said it was temporary, but everyone in the palace knew what that meant. She was royalty in name only now. They had not imprisoned her body, but her voice. And it was Leo who suffered because of it. He was kept apart from her in the training halls, surrounded by ancient warriors and noble trainers who barely spoke to him. Each lesson was crueler than the last. They claimed it was tradition. That bonded guardians must be perfect in body and mind. But it wasn't training. It was punishment. Leo was forced into mock battles against trained duelists who struck to wound. He was thrown into cold water pits made to hold his breath until his chest nearly burst. They gave him riddles designed to fail, not to teach. Every mistake was used as proof. He's not worthy. He never complained. Every bruise, every cut, every insult, they only made his grip tighter on one truth. He didn't come this far to quit. One morning, as Leo limped back from another brutal session, he saw something strange scratched onto his wall. A message in the old Kythera script. Tonight, the gardens, the veil, blooms. He stared at it, heartbeat quickening. It was Ari's sign. That night, under the cover of darkness, he slipped past his watchers. He followed the old paths, through ruined halls and quiet bridges, until he reached the high garden. It was a sacred place. Ari once told him that the veil bloom only opened under moonlight, once every few weeks. Its petals could reflect truth back to the person who gazed upon them, and there she was. Ari stood in the center of the garden, glowing flowers blooming all around her. Her hair was loose, her eyes were full of sadness and fury. "You're bleeding," she whispered, seeing the cuts on his face. "I've had worse," Leo said, smiling. She didn't smile back. "They're breaking you." "No," he said. "They're trying, but I'm still here." She moved closer. "Leo, they're planning something. I've heard whispers. A second trial. One not in the old records. A secret rite called Orvanum. It's not a test, it's a trap." "What kind of trap?" "They'll say it's to test your loyalty, but really, it's meant to break the bond. Through pain, through fear, through loss." He looked into her eyes, then let them try. "No," she said, voice shaking. "This time you won't walk away." She reached out, pressing her hand to his chest. "You've done enough," she whispered. "Run. Leave this world. Let me face this." He covered her hand with his. "I didn't come this far to run." The next day, the court announced the hidden rite. They called it Orvanum, the trial of sacrifice. The audience chamber was filled again, but this time the energy was darker. No ceremony, no cheering, just grim faces and clenched jaws. Ari sat behind bars of light, powerless to stop it. Leo was taken into a cold chamber. In the center stood two things, a blade and a screen. On the screen was Earth, his family, his mother and father, older now, still waiting. A clip played of them at a memorial for missing children. His name was carved in stone. The elder's voice echoed. "This is your choice, Leo of Earth. The bond protects you now. It keeps you strong. But if you wish to keep it, if you wish to truly carry it, you must give something away. Forever." Leo's hands trembled. The elder pointed to the blade. "You may break the screen. Let Earth go. Forget your past. Or walk away and the bond will be shattered. The princess will forget you. Her people will erase your name. And you will become what you always feared. Nothing. Leo stared at the screen. He saw his mother's face, her tears. He saw his childhood home, his first bicycle, his dog, his life. He picked up the blade. For a long time he said nothing. Then he whispered, "I'm sorry," and he drove the blade straight into the screen. It shattered like glass. The image disappeared. A silence fell over the chamber. The elders were shocked. Even they hadn't expected him to go through with it. Leo dropped the blade. "I may not have noble blood," he said, "but I know what loyalty is. I know what sacrifice means. And now I know what you're afraid of." They said nothing. "You're afraid of the future, because it doesn't belong to the past anymore. It belongs to us." From behind the light bars, Ori pressed her hand to the force field. The bars flickered. They fell. She walked to him. No one stopped her. In front of the whole court, she stood beside Leo and took his hand. From that day forward, the court was no longer united. Half the council left their seats in protest. The others stayed, some watching in awe, some in secret loyalty. The palace became a storm brewing under stone. But Leo and Ori had passed through the fire, together, and they were no longer playing by the galaxy's rules. The boy who became her legend, the palace walls had never heard silence this deep. After the trial of sacrifice, the grand halls of Kythera's court stood frozen in disbelief. A human boy had passed every trial, given up his home, his past, and even his family, just to protect a girl from another world. And that girl, Princess Ari, had broken every royal rule to take his hand and stand beside him. The elders didn't speak. The guards didn't move. Something sacred had happened, but something dangerous too, because in the shadows, resentment burned, and far above the moon, in the orbiting black ships of the Zareth Dominion, a final order was being prepared. The attack came before sunrise. Without warning, hundreds of Dominion warships dropped from the clouds, engines screaming through the atmosphere. They didn't give warnings. They didn't ask for surrender. They fired. Towers exploded. Walls crumbled. Civilians ran as the sky lit up with plasma fire. The Kythera court scrambled. Some nobles fled. Others stayed, trying to rally troops and activate ancient defenses long untouched. But the enemy was too fast, too ruthless. And deep within the heart of the palace, Leo and Ari stood side by side, not in robes or gowns, but in armor. His armor was black and silver, gifted by one of the silent elders who had supported him in secret. Hers was royal white, with glowing violet trim that matched her eyes. On both of their chests glowed the bond mark, a symbol now recognized by all. "You don't have to fight," Leo said as explosions rocked the outer towers. "You could escape. You still have a ship hidden in the mountains. Your people would understand." Ori turned to him calm and fierce. "I am not running. Not now. Not ever." He smiled. "That's what I hoped you'd say." They walked into the chaos together. The palace guards tried to stop the invaders, but they were outnumbered. The Dominion soldiers were brutal, hunting through halls with scorched blades and silent drones. But Leo had trained for this. He moved through shadows, disabling drones, taking out squads one by one with speed and precision. He wasn't fighting as a boy trying to prove himself anymore. He fought as a protector, as a guardian, as one half of something greater, and wherever he moved, Ari followed. She wasn't just a princess. She had learned war too. Her energy pulses burned through enemy armor. Her commands, spoken through the palace comm system, rallied defenders from all corners. The people saw them, not just as bonded, but as leaders, and something ancient in the heart of Kythera responded. The palace shook not from destruction but from awakening. An old AI system, buried beneath the planet's core, flared to life. Its voice echoed through the skies. Bond confirmed. Royal line detected. Defense protocol unlocked. Across the mountains, old machines began to rise. Massive walkers shaped like silver wolves. Hidden turrets opened along cliffs. Shields flared to life across cities. The Dominion had brought fire, but Kythera had remembered its roar. Still, the battle took its toll. Leo was wounded defending a corridor full of children. A blade slashed across his side and he nearly collapsed. But the bond-pulsed energy rushed through his veins and he stood again. He didn't know if it was strength from Ori, or just love. Either way, he kept fighting until they reached the throne room. It was already burning. Inside stood the enemy commander, a towering figure in black armor, his face hidden behind a golden mask. "Stand down," Ori ordered. The commander laughed. "I don't take orders from girls, and I certainly don't answer to humans." Leo stepped forward. "Then try me." The fight was brutal. Leo was fast, but the commander was stronger. Blow after blow knocked him to the ground. Ori tried to help, but a force field separated them. She screamed his name but couldn't reach him. Blood poured from Leo's mouth. His vision blurred. But then he remembered something. Something simple. Her hand, reaching for him in the cave. Her voice, saying, "Come back when you are strong." He stood. He roared, and with one final move, he disarmed the commander and drove the enemy's own blade through his chest. The force field dropped. Ori rushed to him, catching him before he fell. "I thought I lost you," she whispered. "You can't lose me," Leo said, smiling weakly. "We're bonded, remember?" The Dominion forces retreated that day, not because of fear, but because the galaxy had changed. Word of Kythera's stand spread through every system. The story of a human boy who crossed stars, passed ancient trials, gave up his world, and defended a princess with nothing but his will became legend. New alliances were formed. The old laws were rewritten, and Leo was no longer called outsider. He became the first human to stand beside an alien queen as her equal. Not because of blood or title, but because of the bond that had been born in a burning forest, when a boy risked his life for a girl he didn't know. Years later, children would visit a garden where the veil bloom flowers still grew. They'd trace the symbol carved into stone, a spiral and a line. They'd ask, "Who was he?" And the old storytellers would smile and say he was the boy who came back. He was the one who kept his promise. He was the legend who proved that love, not blood, can change the stars.